If you were to talk to a bunch of students, go to a founder club, go and speak to the business owner less than, let's say, 365 days in business, what's something that you would give them from a piece of advice? I think a lot of people raise their hands and say, hey, like, what's something that you wish you would have done different in business or something like that? Like around that same vein or around that same kind of like parallel, like what's something that, you know, uh, a 365 day or less entrepreneur needs to hear?
Yeah. I think that kind of advice is really tricky because I think it depends on where the person's at. My experience with like professional growth, spiritual growth, anything like that is that the pendulum can sometimes swing too far in one direction. So if somebody's really bad at taking feedback, they might need to increase some mentorship to, have a bit more of a sight into some, blind spots. But if somebody is so open to feedback that they're almost paralyzed because they're getting so much feedback before doing anything, then I wouldn't tell that person you need to get feedback. On the other hand, that pendulum needs to swing in the other direction. So I always try when I can to give advice that's really tailored to the person and kind of where they're at. I think in general, let's see if anything pops up. In general, man, I think it's really about expectation setting. I think that you can rip out your hair and go kind of crazy okay, let me put it this way. A chief executive officer, your job is to execute. And I think the big dirty secret that I didn't realize until a couple of conversations with mentors later was you get to actually decide what you're going to execute on, and you get to decide what you're communicating to other people about what you're executing on. So if you're going to say, I'm going to, arrive at the moon, anything short of that now shows that you were not an effective executive officer. You didn't execute to your goal. If you make your goal a lot more manageable and say, hey, we might hit the moon, that's really upside. We're just going to get to the atmosphere, like the lower ozone. I don't know what all the different layers are. We're just going to try to get there. Then you can actually end up exceeding your goal. That's going to be really motivating for you and your team. It's going to show that you were able to lead. It's going to be like a proof or a milestone check for your investors. And if you exceed it, then you look good, as opposed to looking like, hey, and now you have to answer for why you didn't meet a goal. So I think I learned that a little late. And I think that it's helpful both in outward communication, but also just keeping a sane mind and making sure that your goals are, everything costs twice as much and takes twice as long. And if you're not accounting for that and what you say you're going to do, then you're probably setting yourself up for some hard conversations and maybe some hard feelings.
Someone who's been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade, I want to talk to you about a serious pain point: spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.